I know that's not something necessarily to brag about, but I just want to tell you, instead of telling you my entire testimony, maybe tell you what brought me back to Potter's Clay. And I had, when I first came, actually, I did have an addiction to crystal meth. I was a junkie. Called every name in the book by the police officers. I don't even use that in church. They called me when I had 27 felony charges and lost my children. And that's how I ended up here in the first place. Actually, no, they wouldn't accept any other rehab. I remember this much, that years ago when I came here, that I was sentenced to prison actually, or on my way to prison. And my dad had talked to the prosecutor in town, and he wasn't going to give me any more chances, but he had sent a girl from Heber Springs, which is where I came from here. And so my dad came to see me in jail and said, they're going to give you one more chance, by the way. There's this really, really, really mean lady in Hot Springs, Arkansas. She's really, really tough. And I was scared to death when I came here, I promise. She's really tough, she's really mean, and it's going to be hard for you to get through, but you're sentenced to 18 months there. And anyway, while I was there, God did, when I came here, she wasn't mean, I know that. Very tough, but with love. And, but anyway, I lost my kids. But while I was here the first time, you know, the Lord, He did deliver me. He did give me my children back. He restored everything back to me. And everything was going good in my life. I graduated. I started working as house mom here. I ended up leaving to travel with my brother, give my testimony, and travel and sing with him. And life was just good again. I was restored with my family. Things were just going great. And things started happening in my life. And I lost my father. There was a near tragedy in our family that nearly devastated us all. A devastation in our family, and not that that is an excuse to go back out years. That's not what that was, but I just began to give up on my life. Give up, and things started happening in my life where I started feeling like I started questioning again, maybe what I got here the first time wasn't even real. Maybe this is when it wasn't even real. And actually, I was so worn out and so beat down, I ended up getting married to this man I met at UNA. Don't be in a relationship. Anyway, and that was my third failed marriage. And what I remember about that marriage is most of the time, there were a few good times, but most of the time, that man that I married told me how much I disgusted him and how much he hated me and how he would rather see me dead and how he would rather just things like that. And I finally decided to get out of that relationship because I wanted to live to raise my kids. And actually there was a knock on the door after he moved out. And you know how the devil, man, he tries to, he knows, I've said this before, but he knows the same old tricks. He knows what guy, he don't have new tricks, he don't have new ideas. He comes back and was a blast from my past. Knocked on my door, walked up to my front door. I haven't seen him in years and years, and said, hey, you remember me? And I went out with him, and the first time I ever used again was on my birthday with him. And so for my birthday, he took me to a place and they gave me an injection of crystal meth. And sorry, Jeff was watching me say that. But anyway, and I didn't stay there, but I continued to toy around with that. And I was working for my cousin who was actually here today, working at Caldwell. So I was working for them, and I thought I had everybody fooled. I really did. Did I? I really thought I had everybody fooled. And I thought that I was living two separate lives. And even out here in the drug world, people were telling me, do you actually pull off these two separate lives? Because I had church girl over here, and I had druggy over here. But those two things didn't work out. They didn't work out at all. And I ended up, actually, my cousin who was here today, actually when things got so bad for me, she actually called me into her office and told me, you need to go to Potter's Clay. I'm sending you back to Potter's Clay. And I don't have a very good memory of that, but I think she gave me the option of that or C of the details of that. And I said, I'm not going back to Potter's Clay. First of all, you're not going to mess with Mom, Miss Liz. You're not going to tell her what I'm doing. And that's what I was thinking. I don't want anyone to go tell Mom, Miss Liz, what and two, I didn't want to walk into the doors of the ministry because I knew that she would know. I knew when she saw me, if I had anyone else fooled, I didn't think I had Miss Liz fooled. I didn't think I could fool her. And so I didn't want to be a disappointment to her and the teachers, so I refused to go. And I decided to pack up and move off, and that didn't work. I ended up meeting somebody, another man, and he was killed in a drunk driving accident while we were together. And pretty much, there was just no hope for me. Actually, my daughter, while I was out doing what I was doing, my daughter, who's one, who's also a graduate, she was doing her own thing. I didn't realize while I was out being selfish and doing my own thing, getting high and running amok, and that I was losing my own kid to doing the same thing. We weren't doing anything together, but she was doing her thing because I didn't have time to watch what she was doing and watch out for my own child. And we were called into, she was arrested, actually, and had drug charges herself. And her probation officer called me in. They did a feds on us, and she called me in and she said, is there more going on with you? And I said, no. And one day I had been up for so long, 8 days, 8 nights. I went out and I got 3 shoplifting charges. And can't tell you too much about that day. Don't have too much of a memory about that day. Can't tell you what I did and what I didn't do too much about that day. But I remember when they put me in the handcuffs, here we go again. I went to jail and I thought, I'm going to lose my kid. I'm going to lose McKenna, my other daughter, who God has given back to me, if I don't do something. So when I went back to that probation officer, I said, send me to Potter's Clay. That's where I got to go. But let me tell you what's happened here since I got here. God has done so many things for me since I've been here. When I came here, I was so tired of the past. I was so tired of the cycle and reliving all this stuff. I couldn't figure out. I was beating myself up so bad because how can a person who's been delivered, who's been set free, who's fallen completely in love with God, who's a minister, how can this person go out and do this again? So I hated myself. And first thing that happened is she set me up with a counselor. And I started talking to Mr. Lee Louder. And the first thing that he told me was that there's nothing you can ever do that can make God love you any less, any more, or any less. And I remember going, oh, I know. And then I went, really? And it just it sunk into me. Really, I don't have to earn the love of God. I don't have to earn His grace. And he began to tell me to do different things and to help me and to try to figure out, to put the pieces of the puzzle together to why I keep going back and doing the same old things, even after God's already restored me and my family. And while I was attempting to start to do this assignments that he was giving me to do at home, one night I fell asleep and I had a dream, and I was an adult. And there was the little girl, Lauralise, was walking down the side of the road. And I was the adult Lauralise walking behind her, and I was seeing her, and when I saw her, I hated that disgusting, stupid child, is what I thought. I hate that human. I wanted to go over and just smack her. And when I woke up, I realized exactly what he was telling me is true. I have such self-hatred. I hate myself so bad. And the Lord, I'm going to tell you one other short thing that happened to me. And I thought there were things reasons why I hated myself. So many that there's too many to go into, or that I couldn't forgive myself. But while I was here, Lauren and I were together one day, and I put this CD in the CD player, and I started listening to it. And God supernaturally brought this memory to my mind. And I told you I lost my dad to cancer. And when I found out that my dad had esophageal cancer, I was reading, he'd been given no hope. I went home, I sat in his chair, and I looked up on the internet, and I read all the reasons why he could have this cancer. My dad didn't drink, my dad didn't smoke, he was a minister, he raised me right. You know, who knows why I turned out the way I did, I thought. But I sat down there and I read that the number one cause is smoking and drinking. And the other cause was extreme stress. And I thought, oh, I did this. I'm going to lose my dad, and I did this. There's no other stress he could have as bad as his daughter going out and doing what she did to her kids, becoming a criminal, humiliating her family. There's no other stress than that. And I prayed this prayer to God, and I said right out loud in that chair, I said, God, if you don't heal my dad, I'm not going to believe in you. I'm not going to believe that you're real. And you know that what I'm going to do is go out and repeat the same things. I'm going to be back doing drugs and doing all this. And this is what was replaying through my mind while I'm listening to the song. And so 2 or 3 days later, my dad did pass. My dad passed away, and